Gentlemen's Collective, movement of men bringing back classic masculinity. Chap who started Gentlemen's Collective, Englishman, much like myself, now living in exile in America, much like myself, except he has chosen Chicago as base of operations and went on the American network Fox News channel on the breakfast show, Weekend Edition, Fox and Friends. Title of the video, A Movement of Men Bringing Back Classic Masculinity. Let's play it.
The return of classic old school masculinity.
Young men are seeking out historic social clubs for men, eager for their old school library-like charm. Our next guest is a young influencer building a movement around classic masculinity.
James Lawley is known as Gent Z. He's actually part of the
Gent Z.
Gentlemen's Collective. Does that have that correct?
That's it, Gentlemen's Collective.
You know, what's really fun, though, is having you join us because there's so many young guys out there that have enough of the, I don't know, man. They just want to be dudes. You know what I mean? They just want to talk sports.
They want to be blokes.
Classic. They want to look the part and feel the part. And you're helping to make that happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much.
What's fun for you, though? Why do you like doing this and seeing young guys in particular become more refined and more polished?
You know, it starts with the style sometimes, or it starts with the more aesthetic things. They get into the suits. They like the James Bonds. They want to live out that life. But then what starts to happen is the way that they move through the world and the way they...
I mean, it certainly was the way it started for me. What young lad didn't want to be James Bond growing up? He's struggling not to get cancelled. Less than a minute in and get away from the women. Yeah.
My name is Bond. James Bond.
Thank you for the Dean Kalergi. Z sounds way too homosexual. It's definitely Z. The letter is pronounced that way. Here amongst all Scandinavian and Nordic languages, and German and other European languages too. Yeah. No, it's not A to Z. It's A to Z. It's Gent Z. He's not Gent Z. He's Gent Z. It just sounds better. Z is cool, but Z isn't that bad. Still not as cool as Z. I'm just saying. Just saying, chat.
Feel about themselves completely changes. I think we all know if you walk down the street wearing a hoodie and your sweats, you don't feel quite as confident as when you look put together, and everybody treats you differently as a result as well.
You know,
yeah. It's much like Edward, the Prince of Wales, once said, a well-tailored suit will take you very far in life. I know there was a video we reacted to long ago. This is probably going on about 2 years ago. It's somewhere in the archive on the YouTube page, and I believe it's also on Rumble. An old video from Serpent ZA. Don't know if any of you watch Serpent ZA's content, or you know, the whole thing with the China show, with Lao Y86. Two chaps who made documentary films of them exploring China from one end to another on motorbikes. It was quite the adventure. Amazing, very fascinating conversations. Much of it I resonated with, having studied in China myself when I was working on my MBA. But even one of Serpent ZA's big things is that when he's on stream or whenever he goes out in public, usually he's in a suit and tie. And he prefers to dress that way. And he said he noticed he had a busy day at work and he was going to have to go straight from the office to a wedding that evening. So he made the decision, you know what, I'm just going to wear the suit and tie that I'm wearing to the wedding. I'll just wear it to the office. Even though there's not really a formal dress policy there. You know, it's easier for me. So we'll do that. He did. And the thing he noticed throughout his entire day is people who are normally, you know, not paying him the time of day, not really treating him with a lot of respect, all of a sudden they were very deferential to him. All of a sudden, they were very respectful towards him. And, people looking at him almost like he was the man in charge. And he said from that day forward, he decided, you know what? I'm wearing a suit. I'm wearing a suit and tie. I'm going to do that every day of my life because I enjoy it and because I love the results that it's getting me. It really is true what the late Prince of Wales said. A well-tailored suit will take you so very far in life. Zet supremacy. The name's Sue. Kurasu. I like the Chap magazine and Chapism. Sadly, can't wear a suit working in the spring factory. Yeah, I mean, some places it's better to. It's not really conducive to wear a suit and tie, especially if you're like in the blue collar trades. It's actually better for you to have work clothes or something that's really durable, made to take a lot of abuse, as those who work in the blue collar trades oftentimes have to endure. But yeah, any chance you get shot, dress up. Men, suit up. Ladies, put on a nice dress. You'd be amazed how far it will take you in life. For so many people, perception is reality. You look like the man in charge, they're going to treat you like the man in charge.
We talk a lot on this show about how men have invaded women's locker rooms, but we don't talk enough about how women have invaded men's spaces. I kind of like the idea.
What men's spaces? There aren't any left. They got rid of the third spaces. They got rid of the men's only gentlemen's clubs. The actual social clubs. We're not talking about strip joints. We're talking about actual social clubs. Places with wood paneling on the walls and tufted leather chairs that men would gather and, have themselves a drink or have themselves something to eat and socialize, network, talk business, talk about life. They even have facilities on site where you can get a workout in, have a swim, have yourself a bath, enjoy a sauna. Just a place where men can get away, relax, be amongst other men, fellowship with them, and then they leave, they go home, go back to their lives. A tie will literally kill you if caught in a machine. Yes, it will. That's why I say, perhaps if you're working in the blue-collar trades, suit and tie, not the best choice. But still, even men who work in the blue-collar trades should have at least one really nicely tailored suit, dress shirt, tie, dress shoes, that sort of thing. I have a nice blue suit, keep it for special occasions. Perfect. Also have an old black suit. Not as good quality. That's all right. The blue suit, probably get more mileage out of that. The black suit, honestly, I don't really recommend, unless you're buying yourself a tuxedo. Black suits, too often they make you look like the valet who's going to go park your car. Or you look like the Undertaker at a funeral.
Idea that this is just for men. So tell me, what does it cost to join? And what if you're not that refined, but you want...
Grey suit, yes. Grey suit is much more preferable. Or even something like a charcoal. It's not quite the lighter ashen grey, but it's also not solid black. It's kind of that happy medium between the two. And it still is neutral enough that it goes with anything. I have 4 blue silk ties, different designs, and a black silk one. And a black ties, that's definitely nothing wrong with that. Just make sure, chat, if you are building a small collection of ties, make sure they pair well with white and light blue dress shirts like what these lads have here on Fox and Friends. We see Gent Z here with a light blue dress shirt. And same with this chap over here, light blue dress shirt. And then absolutely nothing wrong with crisp white pinpoint Oxford dress shirts for the other two gentlemen here. Charcoal and grey suits. Yeah, you can have a brown tie. Most of the time, your belt, your shoes, black. Great thing about the blue suits here with these gentlemen is that you can wear a black belt, black dress shoes, like what this gentleman has, or over here with this lad, probably got a tan leather belt on, but brown shoes. So a bit more flexibility with navy and blue suits. Some good black dress shoes, yes. Good pair of those would take you very far. Really like the Give three-piece a chance protest to preserve Savile Row against the intrusion of stores like Abercrombie and Fitch. Yeah, fast fashion like that doesn't really have a place on Savile Row. I was fortunate to pay a visit to Savile Row when I was in London about, well, it was nearly a year and a half ago now. It was nice. It was nice, but you could definitely tell the place wasn't what it once was. Glory days had kind of faded. Still, fantastic shops there. You've been everywhere. I wouldn't say everywhere, but I've hit some of the high points in the world. Black suits in my book generally should not be shiny. They should have some texture, a pattern that doesn't stand out against the background but gives context to it. Yes, especially with ties. So often I see in the American department stores, your Macy's, your JCPenney's, your Dillard's, and places like that. That one of the first things that really catches the eye are these solid, shiny silk ties. And the bloke puts those on, it looks like he's dressing for prom in high school. Better choice would be something with a bit of texture to the... It can be solid colored, but have some texture to it. Whether that's some type of herringbone weave or, something else of straight lines, whatever. Just have some texture to it. That's always been my philosophy with solid colored ties. And pattern ties, sort of like what we see here. Nothing too flashy, everything understated. Even this gentleman's pink pattern tie, it's something that's small and subtle. This is all right. These are what's known as the old collegiate rep style striped ties. You see a lot of these, especially out of retailers like Brooks Brothers, which, for those of you who are looking for any sort of kind of general philosophy of style and tips on how you should look when dressing in a suit, go for everything that is subtle and very understated. And it's hard to go wrong with that with classic looks like, say, the New England prep look. Or even just, the classic American or British business suit. suit taste in Denmark tend to be outside of international inner city areas to be more somber, solemn, sober, austere, very Protestant conservative. Yeah, a good suit is always going to be very understated. You're not wearing bright, flashy colors or bright, flashy patterns to try and bring attention to yourself, because a strong man doesn't need to do that. People just tend to naturally gravitate towards him because he's got that sort of quiet confidence about him. He's got that aura. He's already done the aura farming, as the young people say. Now he's sort of living out and enjoying what that aura farming has brought him. The Chicago Manual of Style is not a bad choice when it comes to literature on menswear and its 18 editions. Yes. Wore a matching waistcoat with the blue suit once. My uncle joked I could play snooker in it. I was going to an office every day, like 3 or so jobs back. I'd make sure to have a variety of fun ties. Everyone should have at least one tie with fishes on. You can definitely find good quality ties with little fishy patterns and whatnot. Vineyard Vines is a good brand to go find those. That's always a good one. Fedora Lounge, which has been around for over 25 years now, also a good forum to get started reading on, yes.
Be refined. What do you guys do about that in the club?
Absolutely. So we look for the attitude. We look for men that are committed to becoming a better version of themselves. So if somebody resonates with that idea, they can just go to our Instagram, Gentleman's Collective Official, DM me, Gentleman, and I'll have a conversation with them about where they're at, what they're looking to do. And for people that do become a member, we have events. We give them experiences that help them become that version of themselves, and we even bring in special guests
like
on etiquette.
Master class on how to be
master classes, etiquette, style, all of that kind of stuff.
You're teaching them to be
This
James
is good.
Bond.
This is really good.
A few months ago, and you're talking about modeling it. My question for you, James, is why are we seeing this resurgence in Gen Z men wanting to join these clubs and wanting to be more masculine?
I think that society went so far the other way, especially when I was growing up as a teenager. I didn't see any role models in this domain whatsoever. So you end up looking for something that is missing, and sometimes you have to go to the past a little bit to find that.
We were talking about ages where
The past is radicalizing, as we've been noticing and talking about as of late. Remember that tweet that came out about Fenway Park, or that old footage that they had of American baseball and the people gathering at Fenway Park, and how they had to lock the comments because people were getting radicalized by what they were seeing back then versus what they're seeing now. And noticing that, yeah, we're kind of living in the ruins of a once grand civilization. A lot of young people, like our James here, part of Gen Z, noticing and saying to himself, I'm living in the ruins of a once grand civilization. But you know what? May not be able to save everything. We can rebuild what we can. We can save what we can. And that's what he appears to be doing. And good on him for doing this. Vineyard Vines even has crazy golf ties for your gaming collab streams. Yeah, they've always had very fun designs for ties. And they lean in definitely towards the more whimsical, youth-oriented prep look, which nothing wrong with that. You know, at one point, the little pink embroidered whale of Vineyard Vines was seen as sort of a status symbol. Not so much anymore, because brands like that, even Brooks Brothers, I think they're all sort of a shell of their former selves, especially Brooks Brothers. COVID was not kind to the House of Brooks. It decimated them. So many of the stores closed. Company went into receivership. I think they still have some outlets open, but they haven't been the same since. And too often, brands like Brooks Brothers have ended up in the hands of the wrong people. And it's sad. Most menswear forums are now private or closed off to new users. Very hard to come by. Yeah. So much of the world of men's fashion has been sort of a haven of traditionalism that has clashed quite heavily with the woke crowd. And so when people were first learning how to navigate wokeism, stands to reason a lot of them would just sort of close off their doors, become a bit more private. I think long term, probably the smartest move they could make, even if they had to sacrifice growth and forum brand awareness. It's better than letting in a lot of leftists and people who would just hollow out those forums and then wear them like a skin suit, going around demanding legitimacy and respect. So probably safest moves they could have made in the beginning. And makes sense that they would keep them closed off because, I mean, even what Gents Z is doing here is this sort of private mastermind club that he's forming. It's not open to just anyone because you don't want just anyone wandering in off the virtual streets, as it were, and ruining the atmosphere, ruining the vibe, ruining everyone's good time. Which inevitably, you're going to have narcissistic wokies that are going to want to get in and start ruining it by, talking about more sexism, more misogyny, more women's rights, wanting to put up pride flags everywhere. And just, basically inshitifying everything, pausing it up, and ruining the experience for men who are just like, yeah, I just want to be a better man and, network amongst like-minded people and all of us succeed together and, grow as a community. More wholesome objectives. As long as it keeps it exclusive, he's not going to have those problems. Even Tokugawa understood this when he mandated the Emperor's samurai guards had to wear understated kimonos and plain but high-quality koshire on the daisho. Yeah, you don't want to... It's like Robert Greene wrote with the first law in the 48 Laws of Power, never outshine the master. It's one of the things that, for a while, I actually stopped wearing suits when I was in an office job because I noticed that certain people were quite intimidated by the look of a gentleman in a suit. And sometimes you may encounter this yourself. There are people that are going to be intimidated just by the way you look and are going to actively try to sabotage you and destroy you and make you look bad, maybe even go so far as to get you fired. That's no excuse to stop wearing the suit and tie. Don't make the mistake I did. Wear it like armor. Wear it as a protest. and people want to give you shit over that, ignore them, but also watch your back around them. Because there's the same people that they will try to stab you in the back. It's sad, but it's true. Kind of like vintage pattern ties, wider ones. Yeah, you'll notice with vintage ties, the length of the blade is going to be a bit shorter than what you're used to. That's mainly because it was just supposed to be only tucked in so far. The idea of the longer blades that extend now to, say, like your belly button or to maybe the tip of your belt, that's more kind of a more recent phenomenon. Whereas you go back to ties in 30s, 40s, 50s, much shorter than that, and a bit wider with their blade, and just sort of tucked in, almost like they were meant to be wore with a three-piece suit. Karasu said 1950s America is his era of a model of trad that should be embraced. Don't know about that one. To me, it's a transitional era that had many holes and brought a time of the 60s counterculture, but also 60s were a continuation of the hedonistic roaring 20s that was interrupted by World War II. Yeah, probably not too far off on that. I think the answer is taking the good from each past era, forming a new one. We can't really run away from the realities of the present. No, you never will. But, yeah, you can try to take the good and build on it. And that's what so many movements surrounding vintage aesthetics, vintage fashion, and even, kind of old world gentleman's values. I think that's what they're really trying to do. Take the good and build on that. And learn some cautionary lessons from the bad. It's because the trousers were higher. Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, shorter blades of ties and higher marching up of the trousers. Exactly. See no point being stuck in a certain era and trying to model it just around it. That's just LARPing at that point. Yeah. Yeah, you can never really truly go back, but you can take a lot of the good from the past and build on it, put some polish to it, make it gleam and sparkle again.
We're setting this up like it's all Gen Z, but you were saying you take folks of all ages. Tell me about mentorship. I feel like that's something guys are missing.
Absolutely. I think it's a huge part of our members club that we have ages ranging from 18 up to guys in their 70s, actually. And one of the things that they like about that is that a guy in his 20s can find a mentor who is perhaps in his 50s and 60s. Also, for somebody that's older, they enjoy being a mentor. It kind of gives them a zest for life.
What do you actually do in this club?
That's true.
Well, as you can see from some of the photos, there's a lot of dressing up in suits and smoking cigars and going for nice dinners and having experiences that also, maybe you could do it by yourself, but it wouldn't be the same. You need to have that camaraderie. You need to have a group of like-minded people to enjoy that with.
And just in case people didn't know,
we need to start seeing this again in major cities all over the world. All over the world, East and West. This really has the potential to ignite a movement of men. And I think that he's planting the seeds of something that can really be quite revolutionary in its own unique, elegant, even beautiful way. We need to see more of this. More of this in major cities, starting with the major cities all over the world and moving into the suburbs and the countryside. So, welcome in. Having some baked potatoes, added some chicken, bacon, some cheese violence, and veggies. Turned out decently, though the skin isn't the right crispy I want. You get that eventually, but that sounds delicious. Especially with the cheese violence.
There's a growing number of cities, we're talking about 20 and 30 something guys out there. They're flocking to old world clubs. You know, they're joining the older guard in the locker rooms. Historically, only a handful of people under 40 applied. These days, though, pretty high portion of them in their 20s, which is why we love that you're doing this. This is so exciting.
I see a segment for Adam. We should send Adam to the club and do a segment and see what it's like.
Brilliant.
To mentor or be mentored. I'm writing
Yes.
that
We're doing an event down in Austin in a couple of weeks. You should come along. We'll have some bourbon.
I love it.
Go for barbecue. Yeah.
And the website again?
Bourbon and barbecue with the lads. I love the sound of that. I love the sound of that. I would make the trip to Austin just for that. I would endure Austin traffic for that. I think something like this, it's worth it. It's totally worth it. Oh yes, the cheese violence is real. Yes. Anytime there's cheese involved, it will eventually turn violent.
Sounds like a segment.
Yeah, that is a tease.
Join.gentlemanscollective.co.
Join.gentlemanscollective.co.
You're bringing us so much hope.
Always
Love
a
it.
pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. It's one of those things you see that and you think, yeah, the kids are all right. The kids are all right.